Yeah.
Cool. So my first question for you, Nigel, is what actions, objects, or processes do you use to achieve a flow state when you're working? So really getting into that flow state of when you're creating and you're producing work.
Okay. Well, thinking of the paintings I submitted and my general process, I got plein air in the majority of what I do. Um, so I will have like particular places that I enjoy to go. I'll get set up really, take everything out there, um, and sort of the scenery, visually, and just sort of digest it for a bit, and then start working. And it's very responsive to the places that I am. It might be like the weather conditions on the day, the light levels, um, and even things that are going on. If walkers come past, or people sometimes interact with you, so you just get into the zone of creating in that space and trying to get the experience of the place, which I abstract in through my work. So it's not a literal sense of the place, but it's abstracted in terms of like colors, light, movement of waves, if it's a seascape, that sort of thing. And I often listen to music as well, so the music can feed into the energy and the rhythm, sort of my pace of working. So depends what I'm in the mood for, but I'm quite a fan of rock music. So I one day listen to something a bit heavier, and then it
Mm.
sort of gets into the groove of the rhythm and the pace of the mark making, and then if another day I might listen to something a bit more chilled out, and then it sort of goes a bit slower, a bit more. So I suppose that maybe the place where I am kind of makes me respond to that in what music I might like to listen to. So I really get into that zone and work and create what I'm doing. Yeah.
So in terms of like, so you've spoken a little bit about like all of the things that you sort of like get lined up and prepared for when you want to start working, and all the different things that sort of lend into your work. And it does sound like your works are very much, they're not based on like an initial idea that you want to achieve. It sounds very much like your works kind of change and manipulate and develop as you produce them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say it's intuitive, a lot of the mark making, and it as I go on, I'm responding to what I've already put down on the canvas as well. So there is this that kind of sense of getting a balance in the composition, or making the composition work, because it might not quite work. So I'm kind of trying to resolve that through my own instincts as I go along, and that sort of comes from the experience, I suppose, of doing it, such
Mm.
that you're trying to make painting that works as well. Sort of keep back of your mind as painting, and it kind of evolved into the finished. You make minor changes later, but I normally get the essence of what I'm painting down in a few hours in the place where I am. So I never
Mm.
really spend. I don't spend like 3 months on a painting like people do. It's very much a moment, really.
And so like you've sort of mentioned then a bit of all the things that sort of that influence your work as you're producing them and stuff, and all the things that feed into it. What would you say are your biggest distractions from making art? What are the things that pull you away from it?
Um, well, I suppose when you're starting to get some success in terms of exhibiting in quite a few galleries, which has fortunately happened for me in the last couple of years, it it's taking the time away from having as much time to create work, because I spent a lot of years just
Mm.
making a lot of work, and then it wasn't really getting out there into the world that much. But now I'm a member of the Penwith Gallery in St Ives, so I show there like
Mm.
4 times a year in their associate members shows, and the Timoth Art Society, and I'm with the um, Artisan Gallery in Exmouth, who represent. I've managed to get all that going, but so sort of getting all the work ready and doing the shows and doing all the admin related to it kind of takes away sometimes with my time of creating work. I'd like to get out and just spend more days solidly creating work, but you have to create that balance, of doing the necessary admin to keep it all flowing along, keep the shows happening and that sort of thing. So it is important, and it's a joy to do that. But I'd say that's the biggest distraction from just saying I just want to get out there and paint today and not worry about the rest of it. So yeah.
So over your sort of art career, then you went from a sort of period of kind of just producing work, and then all of a sudden you started displaying work, and now you're having to set aside all this time to make sure that you can fulfill the administrative tasks in order to make producing that work worthwhile.
And make the shows happen, and actually physically getting the work there, taking it there, getting it back, going to the openings. It all takes time, and it's all great fun, but it's so I have less time to make it, and I try and focus on getting maybe less pieces done, but making sure the pieces I am doing are of the standard that the benchmark that I set for myself. And I suppose a bit less experimentation these days, and it's more focused towards doing this piece to that particular gallery or that working towards that show. So I'm very mindful of it. You've got to be really organised as well in your mind and on paper. So yeah.
And so throughout this entire change from sort of producing work just for yourself, and then obviously getting out there, what is the one sort of common thing that's resonated throughout your entire art career? One thing that's maybe been exactly the same from the beginning all the way till the current day?
I think my motivation to create it's definitely art seems to be ingrained in my personality, so I just have to make it. So even if I wasn't showing, I'd still be making the work because it's an enthusiasm for me. It's like my purpose in life. Do you know what I mean? They say that artists don't never retire, like people in it that doing other jobs. It's just something you just have to do. I think those artists that are really seriously into it it's just almost sort of part of your nature. You know what I mean? That you have to have the urge to create, and that's always stayed with me since I finished uni. And over the last 20 years of making work, it's even when you've gone through the tough times, I've not given up. A lot of people get a bit disillusioned after a while and give up, sadly. But I think if you push through and you keep doing it, I think people do get there in the end. So that's the thing, my motivation to create and the enjoyment I get from it. That's the key thing for me. Yeah.
I think it's a really wholesome common thread, to be honest. The fact that no matter what happens at the end of the day, as long as you feel driven to produce the work, nothing else really matters, and anything that does happen is just a bonus.
And that you believe in it as well. You believe what you're doing is credible for yourself. That it's the sort of art I want to do. I don't tailor my art to fit a trend or to fit into what I think all that kind of style might sell. It's true to myself. So it does well. It's authentic and it feels really, really good that doing the art I want to do is getting the interest. So yeah.
And could you tell me a bit more about what it is that motivates you to work? What is there behind that's really been pushing you to produce work this entire time?
Well, I love the outdoors. I've always loved walking since I was a teenager, because I did the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme when I was at school and college. And local to me is Dartmoor. I'm sure you're aware of Dartmoor and the sort of moorlands down in Devon. That's where I did that, and I really got the bug then for the outdoors and walking and things like that. So Sorry, could you repeat the question again? Because I'm just don't want to go off thread. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's you've answered it already quite well, to be honest.
Okay.
What motivates you to work? What is behind that motivation that you have
Yeah.
to work?
Okay. Yeah. So that like the outdoors, nature, and the sea as well. You know, I'm near to the coast in Exeter. I'm like 10 miles from the sea, so coastal walking and moorland walking, and yeah, the outdoors and color is a big thing for me. So I love to get joyful, colourful pieces done. I'm inspired by the Fauvists and the abstract expressionists particularly, and a lot of people that pass by say that they enjoy the colour in my work, and I think if that comes across, then it's successful because it works as a painting if it conveys what I'm enjoying out of it to the person viewing it. So.
Well, I've got one more question for you, and it's the one that I wrote specifically for your practice, which is your abstract paintings, Seascape 142 and 147, condense such a diverse spectrum of colour into a relatively small space. And I was wondering how the scale of your works compares to the time spent preparing and planning each one.
Okay. Well, that's interesting about the scale of my work. So there's one consideration is that if I'm going out and about, I need to be able to carry it. So the size of it is often based on what I can carry. I don't drive, so I use public transport like trains and buses. And I have an art kit. I actually have a trolley that I use, and I put all my paints into that. And I can fit a 40 by 40 or 30 by 30 and 40 by 40 canvas quite nicely with that pack. So that's the kind of standard size I work on because it's transportable. But I recently did a residency on Dartmoor for a week in March with Maze Creative. And I worked a lot larger then. I took some unstretched canvas roll, which was a meter by 80, and that is so that I could transport it rolled up. So that if I'd have took a stretched canvas, it would have been impossible. But luckily, I had people to help me carry it. You know, we all helped each other out and stuff. So I rolled it out and worked bigger, but I wouldn't say that there's a lot more preparation in a bigger piece because it just gives me a bigger area to be expressive, and I suppose it's a lot freer sense of working. The bigger you work, you can really get quite expressive, quite into it, and so I wouldn't say it takes more planning other than making sure you've got all the right materials, I suppose. And I've decided that because I was on a residency, I wanted to produce some bigger work, and um, it was nice to have the time and support to be able to do that. So, but I still responded as the same as in the previous question on the day, you know, to the conditions. It was quite windy, so blew away a couple of times, had to go and run after it. Got it back and carried on. So, but it's still really the same process, even if it's a bigger size. And you said about the color, and I suppose the whole point of the issue of the magazine is about focal points, isn't it? So it'd be good to just say something about that there. That within the composition, I mentioned before about trying to get balance in it and in focal points where it creates kind of a tension at a certain point, and then that tension kind of frees as you work towards the edges of the canvas. So I've used charcoal in the particular pieces that are going to be in the magazine. And I use sort of circles, semicircles, spirals, that sort of thing to get into that focal point, and it relates to what I'm looking at, but also to draw the viewer's eye around the composition. Something I was quite interested in when I was at uni was about the golden section, you know, and that whole method that I to draw the eye around the work. So I always bear that in mind when I'm building compositions and things like that. So, and it's quite often quite layered, really. So I'll do a primed, a base layer, and then work on 2, 3, or even 4 layers on top, and let them dry in between for a sort of half an hour to an hour, and build up. So it feels like you can move into the composition when you're looking at it. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's a really like comprehensive answer to the question, because when I was reading it back, I thought, oh God, there's so many ways this could go.
Yeah.
So thank you for answering that. So
It's a good question, actually. I like the question, that one. Yeah, different. I've not been asked that one before.
Oh, that's kind of you. Thank you. It's I think it's really important when people go out of their way to set their time aside to do these calls. The very least I could do is arrange something that's sort of bespoke for our conversation, and it really does come through as well in the answers when it does get transcribed. The way you talk is really captured in the transcription, and it just, you read it back, it's like, yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah, hopefully it does it justice, and I'll be look forward to seeing the finished thing, and I'll definitely be showing it to a lot of people, so that'd be good. Promote it and all that. So I've got quite a few exhibitions coming up that you might be interested in. I've been exhibiting. Do you know Frontier Gallery in Sheffield?
Yeah, just around the corner from me.
I've been. You might have seen some of my work in the shows then, because I've been in about 4 or 5 of the group shows over the last year. And I recently did the black and white one. I had a small piece in there, so look out for any more in the future, because I seem to be working well with them. And Open Gallery in Halifax as well. It's sort of not too far away from you, is it?
Yeah, I know of Open Gallery. I've never been to Halifax though. That's one of the places I'm yet to visit. Did you go see it in person?
I didn't know, because it was just too far for me, really, to get to. I'm doing a couple of things in London, in one in May, called Rebirth, and one called Origins in August, and via an independent curator called Monica Marder. She's selected some work, and I'm going to show some of my bigger Dharma ones that I just mentioned in the Rebirth one. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm definitely going to go in person for that. So yeah, be good.
Oh, great. Well, as long as you're happy with me to do so, I'll pause the recording. It won't end the call.
Yeah.
And then I'll just